March 5th, 2007. This is Diehard Gamer Radio, episode 22.
You are approaching the target of attack. Your mission starts now. Are you ready? The countdown begins. 3, 2, 1, go!
You are listening to Diehard Gamer Radio, the source for off-mainstream video game news and topics. And now, your hosts, Murdock, Brian, John, and Steve.
Just a couple more shots.
Welcome back to Diehard Gamer Radio. I am Murdock. As always, I have John and Brian, and we welcome back Steve from his long sabbatical to Mecca.
Yes, I was Iceland.
I've come back as the Crunchinator.
I guess that praying paid off then.
Yes, I learned from the Icelandic monks the skill of crunchinating. So.
I thought he went to Reykjavik to meet the CCP of Eve.
I'm crunching.
Yeah, he's eating. What is?
I'm eating the Crunchinator.
The Crunchinator. Apparently,
or at least emulating the Crunchinator by crunching.
He's running a Crunchinator emulator.
Yes, it's a Crunchinator emulator. Unfortunately, there's no hardware acceleration.
Only jaw acceleration.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the jaw is not accelerated. Yeah. It's all done in software.
Damn gums.
So anyway, we are podcasting from Steve's place this time, as John's place burned down due to a nuclear meltdown.
It's all gone.
Yeah.
But, on the plus side, they were able to take some photos, and that finally gave them the research they needed to push Stalker out the door.
Ah.
That's a good thing.
Take a shot. Whenever Brian does that, take a shot.
We have nothing. Once again, we have nothing to take shots of.
I'm speaking to the audience.
We have shots.
I could have brought liquor if I knew about the shot.
We have water, and we have mug, and we have Coke, and we have Polka. And once again, you have nothing.
I said we reach across the room and just slug bug somebody.
Yeah. Like Murdock, for example. Oh, did you see what, by the way, speaking of things, do you see what the horrible thing that happened to my cardboard tube samurai poster on the way to, me?
Looks like it's been horribly damaged.
It's been mutilated.
It looks like it required a cardboard tube.
It did have right next to us the cardboard tube. The cardboard tube was not structurally sufficient. So I got to RMA it, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to RMA it because that was the fire sale that PA was running.
Oh, so they're probably all out of stock.
So they may be out of stock, which means. But I did get that great laser print up there. The bling one.
Yeah.
And a bunch of very nice apparel.
Quality fire sale.
Yeah.
Indeed. T-shirts are always good.
Yep.
I got a hoodie.
I was sorely tempted by the Fucker Company merchandise.
I got a Fruit Fucker T-shirt. On the front, it's got Fruit Fucker, and his little slide thing is like dripping a piece of juice.
Right.
And on the back, there's an orange with a hole in it.
You should wear that for an interview.
I should.
The right company, it might give you an edge.
Yeah, it might give me an edge at the right company.
I still they have that T-shirt that says your mom rated E for everyone. I want to get that one.
That was tempting.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to our news bits here. I'm actually happy that we had a little opening banter for a change.
Banter. We always have opening banter. It's just that our banter usually starts at the opening and goes until you try to do the exit.
Yeah. So our first.
Yeah. Those things you write in Star Wars. No, you cut them open and live inside them.
Ewoks?
No, those are the things you put the bombs on and you send them into a crowded room in Tatooine.
Suicide bombers. It has begun.
I love that game.
All right. You strap some C4 on them, you slap them on the ass, and send them into the cantina.
All the humanity.
This won't save you, Obi-Wan.
There'd just be, nostrils and funky tentacles and weird ear flaps everywhere. And you'll never know who shot
It was
first.
horrible. There were rubber masks everywhere.
Then CSI Tatooine will be there, and they won't have luminol. They'll just have the Force. It's like, well, let me see this evidence.
As long as you don't have to see Tatooine SVU.
Let's take the bantha into the interview room.
And what was your what did you see at the murder site?
So I know it's difficult, Aunt Peru, but what exactly did the bantha do?
All right.
Can you show us on this anatomically correct sand person?
Now tell us what part of the force he touched you with.
I'm glad he didn't use
He said I was one of the chosen, that my metachlorian count was so high.
Padawan Shota.
So this is why they need a realistic physics engine for the next Jedi?
No, they don't.
It brings a whole new meaning to ragdoll physics.
You've been listening to Diehard Gamer Radio. All right.
Sad folks, he's going to edit all this out.
No, actually,
well, not until LucasArts threatens to
sue him.
I'm
assist for alleging bantha rape.
Yes, I'm changing the name of the podcast to diggamer.com or Loom
/bgamer.com.
Yeah. Why would anyone want to sue that?
I don't know. How do you sue Anonymous? Hal Leonard tried, or what was his name? Hal Turner tried.
Yeah.
Tried to sue Anonymous.
But Anonymous won?
Well, I mean, B's still
really
there.
Cares?
All right. Let's get to the news bits. So, first news bit. No PlayStation 3 price drop for at least 2 years. Yeah.
Second news bit. No new PlayStation 3 owners for the next 2 years.
I think that's a sub-bullet. That's like 1A.
Except, when can you ever believe the company's talking about, their price drops or anything? They're never going to tell anybody about it beforehand.
How about their price drop for 2 years? Okay, because these guys don't have their budget set all for 2 years, much less have their price drop.
Well, it's also the whole thing. I mean, if they said they were going to do a price drop in a year, their sales would, plummet for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to say, no, the price will always be the same, and you are totally justified in buying one at the current rate.
Our online thing gets going and we make money from that, then we can justify a price.
Well, it doesn't really matter anyway, because as we all know, we can't find any of them. So.
Yeah, there's no PlayStation 3s in stock anywhere, except for, that one homeless guy that decided to build a fort out of PlayStation 3s behind the Best Buy.
There's like the guy wandering down by Ched's who's got the $60 bottle of scotch and a PS3.
That was his purchasing plan, huh?
I don't know. You had a $60 bottle of scotch, so
well,
still asking me for $1.
He's gonna need.
You bought a $60 bottle of scotch. There was $60 there. That meant 60 people. 60 times he didn't have to bug me.
Yeah,
you told him to go buy some famous grouse instead or something.
He bought a really expensive bottle of scotch so he can sit there for the next 3 hours while the PS3 updates. Downloads anything he needs to play it.
Well, no, it's after you buy the PS3, you need the scotch so that you feel better about it.
You feel better about it. It takes the sting away with its own special sting.
He needs to be drunk to watch that special loading game that comes with every PlayStation 3.
Loading. I remember when we were at Normandy and the now loading bar was there.
I remember when the
downloading game.
Yeah.
Remember the original Neo Geo loading screen had the clapping
juggling monkey?
Or juggling monkey, yeah. Oh, God. That
Except,
was really cute for about 2 minutes.
Except for the Metal Slug games, which had the juggling monkey, and it was juggling grenades.
Yeah.
It's like, well, thanks for animating that, SNK.
Why can't you improve the loading speed? Jesus!
I just want to add to our audience that some of us are still getting over the cough/SARS/the flu/whatever.
I think those are just allergies.
Yeah.
Steve, however, never had it.
Yeah.
So Steve's moving to the other side of the couch now.
Okay.
Since, the
Ebola
Ebola's on that side of the room.
So
we have to, fumigate the place.
So next news bit.
Steve's not going to breathe for the whole podcast.
Yeah.
That'll be pretty sweet.
So next,
what do you want us to do when you turn blue? And
I'll start breathing when I pass out.
So next news bit, SCEA says it's working to fix the PlayStation 3 shortages, which we kind of covered already. What PlayStation 3 shortages?
What shortages?
Working to fix the shortages. This is a perfect example of trying to manipulate the media and fool the public.
No,
Except the public all shops at Best Buy, so they know there's a fucking pile of them over there.
Well,
it's a perfect example of project management. Always pick a project where the problem actually doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That way it's easy to fix it.
Yeah.
Now, it depends.
On the other hand, Sony's probably going to make this worse. By the time they're done, there probably will be PS3 shortages.
It's because everybody that bought one will have to return them because of some defect that they can't fix.
Hey, this PlayStation's defective. It was made by Sony.
Aren't they gearing up for the Europe launch right now?
Yeah. They said there's supposed to be 30 games out for the European launch, of which, as I mentioned in the last podcast, there's 30 games for the PlayStation 3
Yeah, what are those games, I wonder?
Yeah.
Well,
they're probably counting all the downloadable
releases,
ones.
And then there's 25 online games you can download.
And half of them are soccer games.
I think I can see 25 games in my living room here.
Well, and there's also the whole part that they always count all those games that nobody else cares about, like the licensed games and crap like that.
Maybe they'll do a port of Prison Tycoon.
Well, then they'd have an RPG. There's a Prison Tycoon too.
Yes, there is.
Is it playable?
Well, the first one wasn't.
That's why I'm asking.
Proof that you cannot polish a turd.
If you get caught in the shower bending over, the game is over.
I don't know. There's you have to you have to prevent people from knifing each other in the exercise yard. It's pretty strange.
It's population control for a prison, man. What are you talking about?
Hey, your game would fit right in there, John.
Probably.
All right, moving on. Our third news bit. Christian group prepares to mark Wii as a porn portal. Insert your own joke here.
Oh my God, a conservative Christian group is doing something dumb?
Yes. And not only that, but a conservative Christian group you've never heard before is doing something dumb?
I say we all chip in and make a giant condom we could put over their building.
Next thing they're going to tell us is that the Wii...
in the world.
We need Christoph. Is that the artist, the one that covers everything in plot? Yeah, we need Christoph to come by and do that.
Yeah, next thing they're going to tell us is that the Wii is actually, round and not flat.
I stand with the Wii.
If you sail too far, you fall off the edge of the Wii and get eaten by a dragon.
Yeah.
Although the other shocker for this is, isn't the Wii already a portal to porn?
Well, seeing as how it has internet access and the internet is only good for porn.
Actually, there was a porn site up for the Wii, I think, about 2 weeks after it came out.
Well, it can go to any website, right?
No, it was actually designed for the Wii specifically. I believe it was freeporn.com, and it was like free, F-R-I-I.
So what, did it have a flash game with a girl whose panties you could rub?
No, it was a full-fledged porn site designed to be able to use with the Wiimote. It was
the DS
hilarious.
The DS with the little stylus bit.
There's a game like that coming out.
Hey, there's finally a reason to buy a DS. Hentai games.
Yeah. Our next news bit, Raiden 4 coming out on the Xbox 360, which is...
I loved Christopher Lambert. Oh, wait.
No. Fail. So Raiden for the shooter... The shmup. Coming out, which is actually kind of a surprise because I wouldn't think that they would have released it on the least popular gaming console in Japan. Well, actually, no. That would require them to bring it out on the PlayStation 3. Sorry.
No, the PlayStation 3 is far more popular than the 360 in Japan.
Is it?
Yeah, on the weekly sales numbers, the PlayStation 3 is still doing 10 times better than the 360.
It's the 360. I mean, they can't sell the 360 if they throw in a girl. So
if they throw in a loli.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you could package it with like a little Harajuku girl or something, and you still wouldn't be able to sell the thing.
I'm sure Microsoft shoved a nice pile of money over their way. Please give us one of your popular shmups and.
Well, I mean, if we're going to be seeing Ikaruga there, and the whole XBLA thing does have a lot of shooters. And they aren't traditional shooters because we're getting a lot of the, Akari Warriors control schemes for them. But there's a lot of shooters on XBLA right now. So, makes sense to me.
So, next news bit. Art of Fighting Anthology coming to the U.S. This is PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a surprise because, it's 2D and 2D is to evil LOL.
And after they're done with that, will they release the games individually on the Virtual Console and then port it over to some other system?
Like the Xbox Live?
Yeah.
Unknown.
I kind of doubt that. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Neo Geo stuff on the Xbox Live.
Well, yeah.
It makes more sense to put 3 or 4 of those games together on a disc and sell it for $30.
I'm just surprised it actually is coming out. Like I said, I'm just surprised it's coming out because it's like 2D fighting game.
And it kind of harkens back to the days. I remember when the PS2 or PS1 first came out, and they were like, we don't want any side-scrolling 2D crap. We only want 3-dimensionals because that's what the architecture is designed for, yada, yada, yada. And a year later, we saw, plenty of 2D stuff.
Well, the PS2,
how long that lasted.
The PS2 is going to be the bargain home for all this stuff for a long time now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be the cheapest
Especially
to develop
since the
for and release
GameCube's
for
not being
now.
produced anymore, and the Dreamcast isn't going to have many more discs available.
Well,
the GM-ROMs are out of production, too.
Speaking of PS2 and games that are coming over, anybody know if they're planning on doing a U.S. release of the Appleseed game, new Appleseed game?
Haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, I haven't either. If we see it, it'll pop up on Neo Arcadia, probably. That's the French site for...
I wouldn't be in too much of a hurry about that, Steve.
Well, and also the Appleseed game, as I understand it, is nearly a direct port of or reworking of the assets in a game called Crimson Tears.
Well, it's being promoted at the same time as the new Appleseed movie. It's like linked up with that.
Yeah, but I mean, it uses some of the same animations from Crimson Tears, some of the same design, the same combo system, and it's getting pretty panned by the Japanese reviewers. So you could just pick up Crimson Tears too.
Yeah.
That's Appleseed EX.
It was an Appleseed licensed video game.
Oh, this one's like really
recently.
new. I don't know if it's come. I'll have to look into what the release date is.
Yeah.
Okay. So
because there was a previous one very recently too.
Which that might be what I saw.
Yeah. So the next news bit is that Dead Rising to get co-op. The rumor is that when Dead Rising comes out as a cheapy title, as their platinum / collector's edition, greatest hits, that it will have a co-op mode.
Well, because they're getting ready to release the whole set of platinum hits for the 360 now, aren't they? We're going to be seeing
we're getting due, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean it's going to be a downloadable patch for the existing Dead Rising owners?
That was to mention the rumor, but, also still totally rumor. Who knows what the hell they're going to do. But if they're going there and actually patching the thing, fuck, I couldn't give a shit about co-op. I want a button to say, no, I don't want to answer the fucking walkie-talkie. Go home, janitor bitch.
How about just a patch that lets you kill the janitor?
That would work, too.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Or a patch that increases the font size.
Well, buy a better television. It's time.
Get your HD TV.
Yeah. I have a HD TV.
Well, then
my 32-inch right there costs me, $500.
Yeah, it's a nice TV too.
Yeah, it works pretty well.
Yeah.
Their PC monitors rock also.
Yeah.
So moving on.
This is a VGA input.
Our next news bit is the Lego MMO announced.
Lego.
Kind of sounds like fail.
And from the press release, I think they said it's going to be great for the kids about 20 times, so not holding my breath for that one.
Yeah.
Until the furries show up.
Furry Legos? I don't know.
It sounds like the kind of game where they're not going to let you build your own creations because, pop on there, build the giant penis, and the whole game gets shut down.
Yeah, and if people want to do that, they can, get Second Life.
Speaking of Second Life, I saw something online where they're talking about Second Life's becoming a new haven for terrorism. Because they're claiming that anybody can get on there and talk to each other.
Oh my God! People can talk to each other
on the internet.
On my internet,
in a virtual setting without being detected and not having to worry about the communications being interrupted or anybody being able to read what they're saying.
Or they could just use PGP.
I love the bit they were talking about that, and they can transfer money through there because terrorists, of course, are going to take the system where they give their credit card to Linden Labs, $5 from them, take them in game, transfer them to someone else. Trade them on the Linden Labs open market to be able to turn them in for money through PayPal, and then take the money out of PayPal into their foreign account. That sounds totally untraceable.
But on the plus side, this makes terrorism fun.
It creates a job for some sort of web scripter somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, funded by terrorist dollars.
Terrorism.
Oh no, you could use Perl for terrorism.
OMG, WTF.
Next thing you know, people are going to be using their Wii for terrorism.
OMG terrorist.pl.
Yeah, this guy came in and he said stick him up and...
All right, next news bit. Monster World Complete Collection comes out this week. Ooh.
More fun than a Monster Hunter complete collection.
Monster World are old 16-bit platform games for the Sega systems, and they are made of wood.
Shit, everything else we play as kids is retro now.
I'm just
Why not
waiting
bring
for
that
Bonk.
up?
When does Bonk get rid of it?
Bonk is out. Is Bonk out on the Virtual
Bonk.
Console?
Yeah, actually, I think there's 2 of them on there.
Really?
Well, no, I know the initial one's on there. I think the other one's supposed to come out, though, the second one.
For my money, you can't go wrong with beating things up with your giant head.
I never got tired of Bonk on the TurboGrafx. That was such a fun game.
And
Just
didn't they
silly animated.
just release Military Madness, too?
No, that actually came out like in the first or second week of the console being out. That was one of the first original.
Really?
Mm.
Military Madness is like a great like Blue Thunder syndrome.
Oh no! I'm thinking of another one. No, you're right. Yeah, that did come out because I was actually just checking my Virtual Console a couple days ago, and that was one of the newer games that came out. Yeah.
I remember seeing that. It was like the only thing that ever made me want a TurboGrafx.
Yeah, Military Madness was pretty cool until you figured out there was really no strategy to that game.
Yeah.
It's kind of like moving between your little hex, and then you move over here, and your little animation kind of moves around, and their little animation kind of moves around, and some stuff blows up, and then you're like, okay, I don't know why any of that just happened.
Yeah.
All right.
It's madness, man.
It's madness.
It's madness.
There's no
There's no
understanding
logic.
in war.
There's no logic to this game. It's just madness.
All right. Next up, Microsoft officially increases their Xbox Live size limit. What's the size on it now? It's
150 megs.
150?
150. So, it's a nice step up from 50. Although, since they also announced that they're releasing the new half-gig memory cards, I'm kind of surprised they didn't make it even larger.
Mm.
The memory units.
Well, yeah, okay. Overpriced proprietary memory format.
They're graphic novels, Joel. What's the point of the memory card? I mean, I really just don't see a function for it anymore.
Because it's cheaper than the hard drive.
It helps you
That's
remember
pretty
where
much
you
it.
are.
Yeah, that's its purpose.
Okay.
All right.
Man, just, drop the extra dime and get your fucking hard drive.
Yeah.
I see sales on them left and right lately. Just do it.
All right. Next up, no third-party online games on the Wii in 2007. So what's going on with this is that I guess Nintendo's being really stingy about their online services and not giving out, the code or
Well, they're not giving
the
out the codes
access
for the
for the-
Mii's either, so none of these third-party companies can institute Mii's within their games either. It seems kind of silly, but I don't know.
And with this article on Spong, though, it's apparently been disproven because there's some other quotes saying that one of the developers who worked on PGA Tour 07 on the Wii was saying that they weren't able to put online in because though Nintendo had given them access to the online stuff, they'd just done it, so they didn't have enough time to integrate it into their game.
Okay.
So, I mean, it sounds like Nintendo just didn't provide APIs for doing online stuff until this year.
Mm.
It's going to take too long to learn it and get it built into the game to have it out by this year, so...
Maybe. And I guess, Elebits is the first third-party title to have any online functionality incorporated into it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It'll
It'll
bringing up the Mii's is another good point. And it definitely seems like Nintendo is keeping with its philosophy of we know best.
Yeah, and we know what we want.
Well,
Screw you guys.
Hey, we're going to promote our franchise games whether you like it or not.
yeah.
By the way, you want another Zelda? What, you're bored of Zelda? What the hell? We've just given you essentially the same game for like 4 systems now.
It's not the same.
Well, no, but that's why they had to give you the opportunity to buy the old ones on the new console, too.
Yeah. Gee, I can't wait for Adventure of Link to come out on the Virtual Console.
Well, that one's different because it's side-scrolling.
Yeah, just like...
Kind of.
Well...
We're bringing old games to a new generation. Again.
Yeah. So our last news bit is PlayStation Home. And before we start talking about this,
How about PlayStation Go Home?
Well, let me explain what PlayStation Home is. PlayStation Home is a new community-based service for the PlayStation Network, which is their free online service
Such
for the
as it is.
PS3. Yeah, such as it is, which allows users to create an avatar similar to a Nintendo Mii for the PS3. The avatar will get their own room, which could be adorned by items players can receive in several, like Xbox Live achievements. And it'll create a MySpace-like experience with voice chat, text chat, video chat, and further social features. I stole this from Wikipedia.
I'm glad that they stuck to their guns about how achievements are a stupid idea.
Yeah.
Well, weren't they talking about entitlements before the PS3 launched and then
Yes.
didn't follow through on that?
Entitlements. What are we, fucking medieval knights?
Yes.
You're so entitled to this section of Canterbury. Well, thank you. I'll take it gladly.
That's why the Xbox 360 needed entitlements, because they need to give them alongside this 360 in Japan to get people to buy it. You are entitled to not be a salaryman.
You are entitled to take upskirt photos at Anna Miller's.
I think they're trying to make people feel good about dropping $600 on a system because now they have entitlements. They've been giving.
Cool. Does that mean I get my land back? Because
How many serfs come with this PS3?
Well, on the plus side, though, PlayStation Home is a less dumb name than entitlements.
Hey, that's a big seller right there. Damn it, I'm going to go out and buy one. Oh, wait a minute. I can't find any.
Just makes me think, like, you have a home, you have items, you can customize your dude any way you want. Just seems like another place furries are going to show up.
Goddamn furries.
Well,
We're going to get so much hate mail.
it does sound like
Furry
a cross
activists, those
between,
Furcivics, they're so, like, aggressive.
Yeah, but you can
Against
always
that
tell it because
persecution.
the envelope is thicker. It's filled with fur.
You can always tell because there's little bits of fur sticking out of the little adhesive part.
You open the envelope, a little poof of feather comes out, or a little bit of hair.
That's
you
bird
open up,
flu.
You're like,
you tear
wait
it,
a
you
minute,
go-
did this come from my ex-girlfriend?
You tear it and it goes, and you hear, listen real close, you hear, yep, when you open it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Just like
it
planners,
sounds like
except
a combination of achievements and kind of like an Animal Crossing sort of idea. And if they do a good job with it, it could be interesting. They certainly have plenty of opportunity to look around at what everybody else is doing and copy the good parts if they wanted to.
And modify it to make it something better.
I will say that MySpace is where the internet goes to die. So.
No, MySpace is where you go to give your identity away to other people.
And the main part that bothers me as well, I think the idea of having a 3D space you can decorate is kind of an interesting idea. When I want to compare games with somebody, I don't want to load up their PlayStation Home and have to walk around a virtual house to figure out which games they played. I'd kind of prefer a menu for that one, but that might just be me.
Well, that and welcome to Dark Age of Camelot about 8 years ago. Okay, thanks, Sony. Really original idea there.
So
they said building from the ground up. They really meant it.
Yeah. You don't have enough PlayStation entitlement points for the foundation for this house. You need insulation for this house. That's 300 points right there. And you're going to need the joist. And, we can't fit this game here because it's on a load-bearing beam here. And Bob Vila's going to help put an extension here on the house there. Yeah.
Well, but if it leads to another power shovel simulator, I'm all for it.
Great. Then the power shovel can go demolish your house. You get achievement points just for buying the game. All right. So next we're going to talk about we're going to go to our topics. We're not going to talk about topics. We're going to actually have topics. And our first topic is we share our opinions on upgrading released consoles. And John had brought up this topic. And what it was that we were seeing all these hard drive attachments and the HD DVD drive coming out for the Xbox 360. And what was your reason for this?
Well, and specifically, one of the things that we're seeing right now is the rumors about larger hard drives and the HDMI port on the 360 and possibly doing a re-release of that. But, I mean, it's happened all sorts of times through console history where, you get like the CD-ROM attachment or something. They come out with some big fundamental feature which splits the community. And it always seems to me like it's a bad idea to do that kind of thing. And
Well, they always have to have those ports ready for expansion, and they always make those plans, but it's more just the possibility, the future possibility. But how many of those?
It
how many
always
times have we
seems like
seen
it's
that
been a
happen,
bad
though?
idea. Though.
Well, here's the thing that's a little different about it this time around than it was back then in like the 16-bit era. I will agree that it did split the community when like these attachments came out, like
the disk drive for the
well,
Nintendo,
the Genesis. The Genesis
HDD
is the
drive.
perennial example for this.
Well, the
When-
disk drive never came out for the Nintendo.
Not here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I didn't
but-
really do
but
anything
the-
there.
But the thing is, when the Genesis came out, the Sega CD came out, and then that kind of split the audience because there were all these games coming out for the Sega CD, but you needed the Sega CD to run them.
Sure, it really split the audience.
Well,
How
it
many
didn't
people
really
bought
split
the
them.
CD?
Yeah. And then, the 32X came out, kind of the same deal.
Another flop. Yeah.
But the thing is that there were games that you couldn't play unless you had these attachments. I don't think there's anything, at least on the Xbox side, that require you to have any of these attachments to play the game.
That's true.
That's gotten better. Yeah.
Though it
And
really
you got to look at
kinda,
these attachments
makes
too.
you
I mean,
wonder
it will
if we're
improve the
bothering
gameplay
this to-
experience, but it's not required.
But also, these older attachments were designed for one purpose, and that was just for video games. The newer attachments coming out are now designed for multiple things. I mean, now we're allowed to watch movies, we're allowed to download stuff. I mean, they serve multiple purposes now, so I don't think it's as bad a thing as it used to be.
So
Well,
you can actually
yeah, but-
extend the features of the console to do something that it was
Yeah.
never designed to do.
Yeah, but
Well,
if I
that may
want
be
that,
the
I'll
case.
just use my computer.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, how is it? At some point, it basically becomes, well, great, now it's an Apple game machine where we have control of the hardware, we have control of the software, and if you really want, you can buy add-on things from us that you can do extra stuff with. It's like a gaming Apple.
Yeah, but I think it's more in line with Microsoft's vision of bringing the console closer to the PC. They're kind of bridging that gap by adding hard drives and adding an HDD drive where you can't get one really cheaply any other way. I mean, this is kind of the best way to go about it if you're going to jump to HDD.
And already have a 360.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's kind of another little thing that's just a cheaper route to go. So they're making their system more viable for people because now it offers something more, and it does it for a cheaper price than you can
Yeah,
do
but
anywhere
as
else.
far as a
I
game
just
experience
don't see the
goes,
point,
it's
because
not.
the whole point.
It's
It-
not
No,
necessary
but that's
at
just
all.
it, though. Gaming consoles aren't gaming consoles only anymore. I mean, the Wii is probably one of the last consoles that is just specifically for gaming. It doesn't.
And it's not even.
Except that's not even just for gaming
and it's
anymore.
not even that's even changing too because it's got the voting channel now, the weather channel.
Hey,
you can
have you-
actually get on.
web browser.
It's got its own browser.
I mean,
yeah, it's
Have
not
you- have you
that's
played-
my problem with this generation of stuff is that they're, the whole point of the whole point you had of buying a gaming console is it did one thing really well. It did gaming really well, and now you're just
Except if you
adding
bought a
more
Jaguar.
points of failure. Well, Jaguar wasn't the problem. The software of the Jaguar was the problem.
well, that and third-party support. But
Yeah, but I mean,
Don't go there.
you're adding all these other things that are like, okay, so at some point, as they continue to add these things on, why am I not just buying a Dell?
Yeah. Adele is cheaper.
Because
Adele's cheaper.
You're not a PC gamer.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're not marketing just these to gamers anymore.
Yeah.
So if I'm marketing a general purpose multimedia thing, why am I not just buying a PC?
Because I mean, at
Well,
least
so
at least
really
it-
some people
they're
are
just growing closer.
And some people are still set on consoles. Some people like consoles over PCs for gaming, and that's just a
But
fact.
but that's the thing. They're not just gaming machines.
and I mean,
No,
let's be-
but I mean, if you can get a PC and game on it, that's fine. But I mean, you've got to go through all these things to do that on the PC.
Yeah, but-
with a console, you can still just pop a game in and play
yeah,
it.
but that's not true.
Well,
that's not true
sometimes
anymore.
Pop it in, hook it up to the internet, download the
Download
update.
the updates.
yeah. Well,
It's
that's
becoming
because
more
they don't
like
make the
PCs.
games complete anymore.
I mean, that's
they
the-
wait
I
and
mean,
just patch it after the fact.
It's fairly obvious that while there's obviously these are supposedly gaming machines, they're trying to address themselves to this other market that's going to use them as a media center, especially the PS3, which was like, oh yeah, it's a little bit of a gaming machine, but really it's a multimedia center that you're
increasing
base your life around.
You're increasing your audience.
Yeah, but why
Sure,
do I
everybody
not
will
just
buy it
get a
initially.
general purpose machine that also does that and it is cheaper and is expandable?
I see what you're saying,
the
but
point?
these companies aren't going to give up. They're going to try and find
Well,
that
I don't
audience.
expect that they will, but I mean, it's like Sony didn't give up either, and look what they happened with the PS3.
Yeah,
I mean,
Sony
that's
pushed the
another part of
limit
it,
a
that
little
Sony
too
tried
far.
to pack too much into it.
Yeah, because if I want like a console and everything, and I'll that stuff. I'd like.
I think one of Sony's major
Well-
flaws is they pushed too hard to get the Blu-ray in there. If they'd left that
Well-
out, I don't think the system would have been that bad.
Well, I mean,
But that was also the whole thing that they probably made that decision a long time ago for a lot of reasons, and they just
Well, it
weren't
wouldn't have
able
been
to
so
make
bad
them
with
as
the-
fast as they wanted to or as cheap as they wanted to.
Well, and with the Blu-ray, okay, so put the Blu-ray and whatever. How would you use some sort of conventional CPU architecture? Like, let's make up this whole new architecture, and IBM makes it, and we're the only ones that really use it.
yeah.
Oh, good, that's a cheap way to go.
Well, it's not like the 360 is a conventional architecture either.
Well, but at least they use like Power PCs.
Well, the cell's based on around PowerPC too.
Yeah, slightly different architecture though.
The main processing unit in the cell that coordinates all the SPEs is very similar to the PowerPC cores in the 360.
That's great, but isn't the 360 just a bunch of Power PCs running in parallel?
It's got some other odd hardware features to it.
It's a console. It's got hardware features, but
And
it's a lot closer
it's
to being a
also
conventional
3
machine
cores
than,
on one chip
Yeah.
with thread level parallelism on both of them. They aren't like any of the desktop Power PCs.
Yeah, but they're a lot closer to being a conventional architecture than a cell is. They are. I mean, they are. I mean, you can mesh little bits all you want, but it's way more conventional than a cell
I
is.
wouldn't say it's way more. I mean, it's
Okay, it's more. How's that? I mean, if you really want to split the adjectives,
yes,
Sold
it's
American!
more conventional. But I mean, the thing that the
What about-
consoles
what about-
did,
what about 50?
and the
Sold!
reason they went with those stranger architectures too, is because they're trying to go with an architecture that'll still be a good choice in 5 years. Whereas the PC ones are in 5 years going to be where the console processors are. They're going to have that massive level of parallelism that they're moving towards.
well, maybe. But I mean, okay.
Well,
here's-
that's just how it's going to work. I mean, that's why we're getting multiple cores on one die, because that's how they're dealing with the power problems. We aren't scaling with speed anymore. We're scaling to multiple cores.
Well, sure, but I would argue that you're going to the quad cores and the 8 cores or whatever is a lot more of a logical step than jumping straight to the cell ridiculousness and that sort of thing. I mean, if they really wanted to, they could have made their machines a lot cheaper and still. I mean, it's not like the PS2 and the Xbox where this light years ahead of
The
their time
PS2
thing.
was freaking weird.
Yeah, but
it
they
was
weren't light years
completely
ahead of their
Very hard to
time.
program for. Yeah.
Well, it was hard to program for, but it wasn't like
Just like the PS3.
They weren't going with they weren't going with stuff that was nobody had ever heard before. Sure, it was weird, but it wasn't stuff that nobody had ever heard before.
The whole memory architecture on the GPU for that was really unique. The PS2 was a completely custom hardware, and a lot like the PS3, it was strange.
I don't remember it being that way. I remember it being just kind of.
I remember how
Sort
hard
of,
it was
somewhat.
for almost a year and a half for
Well,
them
it's-
to get
it's always-
third-party
it's-
games because
It's always. I mean,
people,
it's the exception when people can easily develop for a new console.
well, that's just
you
it
know.
though. People are happy to jump on 360 now. They're happy to do stuff for the Wii because if they can understand it. Trying to figure out the PS3 is like Jesus, man. This is just ridiculously
It'd be
hard.
better if
It's
they made,
it's
like,
almost
some
made too hard.
good
and on top of
development
that,
kits for
PS3
them.
support for these programmers is ridiculously stupid. I mean, they make it impossible for these people to make games for them.
Well, there was the whole thing that they really launched before they had all their APIs done and everything. So
Yeah, they
I
should
don't
have
think we
planned
need to.
for this.
I don't
mean,
think we need to go over how botched
Yeah.
the PS3 launches again.
I'm just saying they are not making it easy for anybody to do anything for the system, and they wonder why nobody's doing anything for the system. And on top of that, they've got every other problem in the world going wrong for them too. And you see everybody else that's the 360 and the Wii are completely successful for all intents and purposes because people are happy to do stuff on there and they're happy
Well,
to
they're
try
happier to
something
do
new
it on
because
the
it's a
than on the
lot
PS3.
easier to program for.
Well, I think
And they get all the support they need from these companies. Microsoft will go above and beyond. Even Nintendo will be happy to do anything they can.
as
to
long
make
as you
it
don't
easier.
want the Mii's or online access.
Yeah.
Well,
read the byline of No Me's. Yeah.
well,
As long as you don't mind making crippled games, they're all for it.
well, I'm going to have to kind of disagree with it because I think a large part of it is just.
No, you're
a large part of it is just going to be developers who are just going to go to wherever the money's going to come from.
But I don't know. Getting back to the topic about upgrading consoles.
Yeah, that's what I was going to try and do here.
The other
failed.
part of that I
Yeah, I know.
wonder about is it always seems like there's a lashback when you release a new version of a console too. It's like all the people who already bought it. If you add some new features to it, it's like why didn't you put
No,
that in the
there is
version I
that.
already bought?
Well, you tend to get that more if you make upgraded consoles that include the new features. If they're add-on features, you don't quite get
because
as
then
much.
you pay money for them and it doesn't matter.
You know what? There's a solution to this too. Is you wait about a month or two, and then you go to benheck.com, and you wait for Ben Heck to make some mod that he can put on the back of your system, and then explain to you how you too can deal with a solder gun and some Radio Shack.
Yeah, but
although that's certainly not going to happen with this 360 one, because if they actually do the HDMI port on the back, there's going to be like chipsets that change.
yeah, that's going to be a little more complex. But I gotta say, I really thought the VGA mod for his 360 was pretty cool.
Was there? I thought there was a dude that. No, maybe not.
He did a VGA mod where you didn't have to go buy the VGA.
Well,
cable.
there's actually
$9 and put
Pelican
the parts
puts
together.
out for $20. They put an expander thing out that basically, I mean, it's like one of those cooling things, but it also plugs into the multimedia expander thing for the Xbox and expands it out to the standard inputs and outputs.
Yeah,
which would be cooler if it didn't mean you had another set of jacks and
of course,
more signal loss on everything.
But I mean, if it's most of their people are saying they want it for like the DVI, so you don't have to buy a DVI cable or whatever. So you get a cooler thing, and you get more USB. You get like 6 USB ports or
built
whatever.
A hub into it.
Yeah. And so you get all this stuff. Plus, you don't have to buy the specialized stuff if you want to use.
It sounds to me after adding all that crap, they had to put a cooling unit on there to cool it
Well,
down.
maybe.
I wouldn't trust any of those cooling units though,
using,
because more of those fried 360s and the 360s
well, that was
actually
I think that was
overheated.
Nico or Hori.
Hey, if you want the red ring of death faster, that's the best way to do it.
But I think it was for DVI folks that wanted the cooling thing and the USB and a DVI, because then you didn't have to buy the separate one.
I will say I give props more to Pelican than anybody else out there, because their hardware, their add-on accessories have always been good.
The other problem is I haven't been able to find that expander thingy anywhere. I've seen it online, but no like
actual
stores buy it.
Yeah, Pelican's kind of hit and miss. A lot of places don't buy it unless they get some deal through.
Well, they buy like other Pelican crap. They just don't buy this one.
I think
I don't want this piece of crap. You give me the other $20. This is $40 and it doesn't have as much stuff.
They'll bring the programmable microphone for the Xbox 360 that allows you to record your own insults, and then all you have to do is press a button. and I'm not making up this product. This is a real product. I saw it on PlayAsia this morning.
Obviously,
but
lame noobs.
Yeah.
If you can't insult and fire at the same time, how can you fight a
You're
war
doing
if
it
you can't
wrong.
hold your liquor?
Little Jimmy couldn't pat his head and rub his tummy.
Insult button.
Yeah. But
you have to take your hand off the controller and go hit something else.
But back on topic,
so
now the only consoles that I can think of that had add-ons other than there was the Genesis, which came out with the Sega CD,
right?
The 32X.
The Jaguar had an add-on CD.
Yeah, the Jaguar toilet. And then the TurboGrafx came out with the TurboGrafx was actually one of the more hard. They had a lot of upgrades because not only did they have the CD, but they had the system cards, the RAM cards,
the Super CD card,
and the arcade card. If you had the Turbo Duo, there were 2 arcade cards, 2 system cards. I mean, it was just
like 6 or 8 different systems by the time they were done over in Japan alone.
Oh, yeah, the PC Engine was just a monster.
They kept upgrading the hardware, and so they had to make out a whole new system, or software rather, so they had to make a new system to utilize the complicated.
My understanding was it was the PC Engine, and they came out with the CD-ROM
for the PC Engine. Yeah.
But then you needed the CD-ROM card to run the CD games. And then they had a CD-ROM 2.0 and a 3.0, which had more RAM. It was just really bizarre.
TurboGrafx Mousetrap.
Yeah.
And then the Turbo Duo.
Did you have to run around and defeat monsters to find all these parts?
At one point, yeah.
Let's not forget the NES sewing machine, okay?
And in recent memory, the GameCube and the PS2 both had a number of hardware upgrades. And there was the network adapter on the GameCube, the network adapter on the PS2, the hard drive on the PS2.
Yeah, which one game uses it?
I got a network adapter on my used one for free. I could go play, crappy or Final Fantasy 11.
Yay!
Yeah, but then you'd be playing Final Fantasy 11.
There was also an original hard disk drive for the Nintendo.
The Nintendo 64.
The Super Nintendo. I mean, the Super Famicom.
Yeah,
That was the expanded disk slot below.
Well,
that thing.
They never came out with the disk drive. They came out with the Satellaview, which was the satellite attachment for the. The Super Nintendo. I think that's what it is, if I remember correctly. And then there was the bulky drive, the 64 DD for the.
64, yeah.
and I think only one. I knew it was
There was
two
like
games
2 or 3 games that came out.
because there was
Mario
F-Zero.
World. Wasn't there a Mario World of some sort?
Well, it was F-Zero, which gave you the ability to make your own tracks.
Yeah.
There was the Zelda, the Ocarina of Time special edition, where they changed all the dungeons and made the game like 5 times harder. And I don't remember what else came out for that thing. But our opinion of
Did you remember the Virtual Boy one where they had the add-on that made it not suck?
I don't think
I
any.
totally picked that one up.
Yeah. I don't
It
think
was
they
great.
came out with that. But what's our opinion on the upgraded consoles? I mean,
the Power Glove?
because as of today, there isn't
Rob,
any
you're a robot.
there isn't
You're a
any
robot.
game I can think of that requires us to upgrade any of these new consoles.
Well, I think aren't there some games on the 360 that require the hard drive? I mean, doesn't Final Fantasy 11 require the hard drive on the 360?
You mean the hard drive attachment? Well, you're talking about if you mean
Versus
the
a memory
core
card,
versus you mean the core system versus
the premium or getting the hard drive as an add-on.
You can't do it with a memory card. You're saying you have to have the hard drive.
Well, I think the
you have
game's
to
way
with
too
Final
big
Fantasy
for.
11.
That's a good
positive.
question.
Even with a 50 meg card.
Well, I wouldn't even know.
That's scary.
Well, I think Final Fantasy 11 required an installed hard drive because it's an MMO and needs to pull down all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So if you just bought the regular old core system without anything,
I think you couldn't play that game.
We're checking Wikipedia right now.
Well, and there's like all the Xbox Live Arcade stuff that you'd have to at least buy a memory card with. But since you can't save until you buy a memory card, probably
Well,
not
that
gonna consider
that
to
was
be
the
a
same
real
with the
flaw.
PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1.
Any console.
Yeah, and that's not really. It's necessary to save the game, but it's not really an upgrade. It's just more of just a peripheral.
Actually, the Wii doesn't require you to use a memory card.
Well, it's got
It's
internal
got the
memory.
half gig built in.
Yeah, it's got it built in, but it is kind of nice that you can take your virtual games and save them to cards anyways.
Can you actually play them on another system?
You know, I didn't try that. I haven't tried that yet. I had the chance the other night, and I forgot about it when I took my card over to a friend's house. So I was just showing him photos and stuff on there. But
It's
I have
required.
no idea how they lock it.
So the hard drive is required for
Yeah,
Final Fantasy.
it takes 5 gigs of space to install it.
confirm, myth busted.
All right. So is that the end of this topic?
The installation process takes 2+ hours to complete.
So it sounds like what you're saying, and I think I can agree with this, that as long as they don't do things that you have to play the games, then it's really not that bad an idea. As long as they're just adding features onto it.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
something, that's okay.
it
Just
makes the
increasing the
game easier to.
flexibility, I
I
think.
mean, it'll make the game easier to play, but as long as it's not a requirement, then I'm okay with it. It's and this was the thing with the TurboGrafx. That there were games that's like, you don't have the system CD, you don't have this special system card, you can't play this game. It's actually in all intents and purposes, it's actually gotten better.
So you're still
the years
saying
have gone by.
it's all about the games. And as long as the games still work, it's all good.
Well,
It's always been
they're-
about the
consoles they're also learning by bridging that gap to the PC that now we can just download patches and we can grab these little things we're missing. Hell, we don't even need to put out a complete game because we can patch it the day you buy it and fixes the game. So hey, we're saved. We can just.
What's
throw
with
it
the
out
black
wherever.
screen? Gotta wait for the patch.
The other interesting things is something that somewhat tangentially related. It points out here on the article I'm reading about the 360 that there's no voice chat in the game, even for 360 users to talk to each other.
Wow, I didn't know you could be an Xbox Live game and not have voice.
Yeah, you must have
Lovely.
a USB keyboard to communicate with other players.
That's so back-ass works.
So maybe we can just say that Final Fantasy 11 isn't really a 360 game.
I guess not.
Oh, I think it was rushed.
No,
maybe there's a patch
Well,
coming out.
actually, it must have been rushed because there were no achievements or gamer points in Final Fantasy 11 for the 360.
Wow.
And since
They should have made
wrote
achievement
this,
points
they've
for
added some-
waiting for the game to install on your hard drive.
Hey, you get 200 points. You survived the install.
So that's one of those related conversations about, if you don't have the same sort of hardware base and you've got everybody playing the same game once,
Yeah.
that it's probably a different topic.
Okay. Well, moving on. Our next topic is: does photorealism really matter? John will probably say yes.
Well, What this was a really interesting interview. For one reason, because it was from Introversion, which is a really amazing PC developer, and you should go and buy all of their games right now.
Are you trying to get them to send you free stuff?
Well, since I've already bought
You would not
everything they've
deny
ever
it.
made.
See, obviously you didn't plan ahead here. They're supposed to give you a free endorsement, and then they send you free stuff.
Nope. I'm waiting. You can go and buy them.
You can send it to me.
We'll be here when you get back.
So this whole topic started was that there was an article in Next Generation which was basically asking, hey, does photorealism really matter? Is it really that important for graphics to be so photorealistic? I mean, is that where we want to be? Is it that important to have that?
I think it depends on what kind of game you're using. I mean, like when I play Gran Turismo, I just think that is one of the neatest things about it is it really puts me in the car. I feel like I'm driving real racetracks because it looks so realistic. You know?
You probably don't need photorealism for Wii bowling.
Well, and then
They don't even have legs.
And then for this article, they went and picked, people whose opinions we already knew. And we got a spokes guy from NVIDIA who's saying, yes, realistic graphics are the most important feature ever.
Yeah, because, gee,
And
I
then
can't
they went
imagine.
and talked to Introversion, which is like a 4-person dev team that does these great stylized games. It's like, well, they're going,
the
no,
article's
gameplay
biased."
rules.
Yeah.
So, John, I know that you're a big graphics guy.
I'm totally a graphics whore. That's all I look for. Games could be completely non-interactive.
Okay, you said interactive.
Well, we've got some FMV left.
Okay. You said interactive. I will have to smack you. Stop throwing that word around. I mean it, because interactive, that word means nothing.
Interactive.
It doesn't mean anything.
Hey,
Because
FMV is
everything
interactive.
is interactive. CNC Music Factory is interactive.
Sex
Because
is
it
interactive.
doesn't do anything unless you interact with it.
Final Fantasy isn't
No,
interactive.
man. If you just if it was a totally FMV game and you had nothing in it, oh wait, that'd be a movie.
Yeah, no, it'd be Phantasmagoria.
Yes, Phantasmagoria 2.
Yeah.
Or it'd be,
Even more FMV for your viewing pleasure.
or any Japanese dating game ever made.
That's interactive. You've got kiss, give gift, stick and pooper.
We need the kanji for pooper.
Maybe that's interactive.
As I've said before, and my opinion on it is that at this point, we can have good story, good graphics, and good gameplay, and you don't have to sacrifice on any of them.
And when that game comes out, the world will explode.
Yes, and that world comes out because they haven't cut the budget for one of those three things.
Well, when you start ground up, you've got to have gameplay. If the game just doesn't function right,
Well,
that's
it's
the
not a
core
game.
of the game. Yeah. Graphics come second or even third in that because if I'm having fun playing the game, it doesn't have to look super pretty. I'm just saying Gran Turismo is one of those few cases where, it really lends to the game to see that realism because it puts you there. I mean, it's kind of funny, but after playing Gran Turismo for years and going through, 4 of them now, I see those tracks on TV and I recognize those tracks and I'm like, I remember taking that corner, man. You can't do that more than 5 miles an hour. And it's just, I feel like I've raced those tracks. I mean, it's kind of silly, but it's one of those things.
I just like whenever, the few times I see somebody playing Burnout and I'm like, wow, you suck.
Yeah, but that has nothing
I
to
don't
do
know
with
who's playing
graphics.
this. This sucks.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing I think is interesting about this, though, is this isn't asking about whether graphics are important. That's actually a given for the interview.
Yeah.
They're saying graphics matter. But this one is whether or not the goal of trying to do photorealistic graphics is as important, or whether or not just doing stylized things or cartoonish things gets you just as far as photorealism
You mean
does.
something like Okami versus...
That's a good comparison. I mean, here the one they're making is take something like Crysis and compare it to say Darwinia, because Introversion did, and get totally different approaches to making a game, totally different hardware requirements, but they're both really good-looking games in their own way. So, I don't know that photorealism matters. I think there's some games where photorealism makes for an interesting gameplay experience, so I don't think you discount it totally. Automodelista is not something I'd take over Gran Turismo.
Well, that's true. That's actually a good choice, too, by the way.
But the gameplay in that sucks also.
Well, once again, it goes back to gameplay.
I really think it does.
Well, it always has. That's always been the case. Gameplay's always been top priority.
But gameplay doesn't always
Especially
sell
when
a
you
game,
didn't have
though.
graphics.
Photorealism will
Well-
sell a game faster than gameplay does half the time because people say, "Oh God, look how good."
Yeah,
that
but do you
looks."
think people are now expecting games to be photorealistic now?
Well,
Is
people are being a little more careful now because they've seen all these flipping commercials that show gameplay and it looks so fucking amazing, and they come to find out, oh no, that was just an
was just
FFV
a
commercial.
cutscene.
Actually,
yeah,
the
that's
game
not how
the
game
game that
plays.
we need to bring up for that, Final Fantasy VII, because when that game first
Oh,
came out on the
yeah.
PlayStation,
Yeah, it looked
the
freaking
commercial was
amazing.
nothing but the FMV. And then the thing that a lot of people don't understand about the original PlayStation was that when that system came out, and Steve will probably agree with me, there were a lot of people that were not into gaming at all, and the PlayStation was literally their first foray into video gaming, so they had no idea of what Final Fantasy was. They didn't know any of the history behind it. They didn't know what the type of game was. All they saw was, oh, hey, look, pretty CG. Must be a game I want to play. And then they come to realize, oh, hey, it's a role-playing game. And then you have all these jocks that are disappointed because it's like,
the
It's
PlayStation
menus all the time.
PlayStation was like, a whole different paradigm of marketing for video games when it first came out. So
yeah, we're not going to release
We're not
any
going to
role.
market like we marketed, the Super Nintendo or something. Or,
What was their original?
we're not going to have the
ad?
Zelda rap.
Remember
No,
they
what-
had an ad that had a red E.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay, what it was that it had a disembodied polygon head, and the original ad for the PlayStation 1 was for Battle Arena Toshinden, and it was this polygon head that said, "This is a role." It was something to the effect of, "This is a role-playing game. In this game, you play the part of the punching bag," and it had a red E, and then it says ENOS, Enos lives. But the E was actually ready 9th of September, which was the release date of the PlayStation 1.
Yeah, but I remember seeing their ads like the end of every PlayStation.
Yeah,
commercial.
are you
So it's
ready?
Like, are you ready?
Yeah, that was the whole E.
Yeah.
That was the whole E thing that they did. But
So
then
they were it was pretty innovative. It was pretty cutting edge. It was definitely out there. They were giving you these almost subliminal messages at the end of the commercial, and you felt like you were part of some little gaming cult.
yeah,
You know?
and then you get Battle Arena Toshinden as your first purchase for your PlayStation 1, and it sucks.
And now we
Well,
get
it
It
crying
wasn't that bad
babies.
at the time.
Oh, it was great for the first couple hours, and then you realize just
Had no
wasn't a whole
control
lot of
at all.
yeah. Why the hell did I just drop $50 on this game?
So, photorealism doesn't really matter.
Well,
Depends on the game.
It really
Except
depends on the
there's-
game, I think.
yeah.
Most games don't require it, but it really lends.
But
to
I'm
the
wondering
game.
if they
I think I'd call it a stylistic choice for the game.
now, do you think
It
the
might be
Halo and Madden crowd
overemphasized
is
in
expecting that?
Oh, totally.
Oh,
if
man.
you're making a sports game, photorealism is an absolute requirement. It's supposed to look like the game.
It's supposed to
Not
be
only
looking
that,
like
but
you're
the
watching
better it
ESPN.
looks, the better the characters look, and people play those games for those characters. They want to see those personalities, and if you make them look more like those personalities, then that sells the game right there.
So
And that's
I think
that's
that's
for-
a great example of where photorealism really matters.
Yeah, it matters in all sports games except for soccer, which is not a sport. Sorry. Had to get that in there.
And I don't know. I mean,
Now we're going to get complaints from soccer players.
We have soccer player fans.
there are ones that aren't photorealistic too, but there's definitely for some people that's really important.
Yeah, I don't want photorealism in Super Dodgeball.
I do.
Crotch shot. Wow, that
Did
looked
anybody
like that
watch
really
that
hurt.
thing?
What?
There was a thing on
The special
opposable thumbs.
Yeah, the whole tutorial video.
There was a
for
tutorial about Super Dodgeball.
That was awesome.
Did you watch that?
Yes,
No, I haven't watched it yet.
it's awesome. All right, so that's it for the topics. We're going to go into our reviews. And Steve, do you have a review?
No, I do not.
Gamer Under a Rock, unfortunately, is being held up in Guantanamo Bay.
Well, you see, the problem is that I've got a 360. and well, old games becomes a different thing once your 360 is pretty much the only thing hooked up to my TV right now.
Oh, you could go on and buy Joust off the arcade and review
yes,
that one.
I could review.
I still haven't figured out how to kill those damn pterodactyls.
Is Heavy Weapon was Heavy Weapon like a remake of an older game? Because I could
It
have
was
swore,
a
remake of a
PopCap
PopCap.
game.
but
Yeah.
I could have swore it was like there was an older game called Heavy Weapon.
Yeah, there is.
Game.
I don't remember.
Oh no, Heavy Weapon isn't. Atomic Tank is the PopCap Flash one. Heavy Weapon is.
Well, Heavy Weapon's the one with like the little dude who's running across the
Yeah.
screen and he's always firing and do whatever. But I could have swore that there was. It's kind of like Moon Patrol 2007, but it's. I could have swore there was an older arcade game called Heavy Weapon, and I could have swore it was something like Ikari Warriors. We had like the weird little twistable twistable joystick.
Are you sure you're not thinking of
Like they used for Tron.
Well, that they used for.
Yeah,
are you sure you're not thinking of Midnight Resistance?
No, I'm pretty sure because Heavy Weapon sounds pretty different than Midnight
Go to
Resistance.
K-Love, Killer List of Video Games. They have a listing of all arcade games on there. Yeah, it's K-Love.
GameFAQs doesn't have all the arcade stuff.
Yeah, but
K-Love will have it.
yeah, but GameFAQs has entertaining forums that are like, I can't clear this game, and it's like, well, you should probably turn the game on.
That's not it. Listen to K-Love's prayer request.
I think it's klov.com.
Pray for guidance. God, tell me which arcades this game came out in.
Why, that was Midway in 1982.
Thanks, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
There it is.
Dear God, I've been very good today and would like a copy of Rise of the Robots.
You're going to hell for that one.
It was Heavy Barrel.
Heavy Barrel.
Yeah,
Heavy
yeah.
Barrel. That's what I thought.
That came
They
out
made a
recently
game
on some
based off a
website.
barrel
It was
that
a
weighs
Data
a lot.
East, and it did have those joysticks.
Oh, God, Daddy East.
It was a Data East game that did have the Ikari Warrior joysticks.
Yeah, that was the 8-way drill.
See,
Yeah, the little
we're improving our podcast by having internet access so we can actually look stuff up.
Huh?
So that we're reducing the
Well, we
amount
had
of time it
internet
takes
access before, but
Keegan
for some
to
reason
tell us that we're wrong.
It's the redundancy report.
Although I thought we agreed that in order to go ahead and satisfy our listeners' desires, we needed to make sure to include more mistakes per episode. Improve audience participation here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, that's redundant because come next episode, we're going to spend more time clarifying those errors.
Yeah.
Why not just get it right to start with?
Yeah. But
Because we're incapable of it.
But we got internet access.
Yes, and if it's on the internet, it must be true.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus, for the internets.
Thank you, Al Gore.
how do I clear Noah's Ark?
Well, you removed the cartridge from the console.
I pray to
Put
our
it in the
patron
trash
saint,
can.
Ted Stevens, representative from the inner tubes.
Yeah.
How do I beat Custer's Last Stand? You're playing that game? Take it out. Put it in the vault.
You're doing it wrong.
How do I clear ET?
You don't.
Yeah.
You put a magnet next to it.
It's like fucking Goonies. You get stuck somewhere and you never finish the damn game.
How do I shot web? Down, right, and punch. Yeah, E.T.
Anyways, moving right along.
Damn it,
All right.
I fell in the hole
We're stuck
again.
in a pitfall.
You know, you can actually clear Pitfall,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
Yeah, you can. I've seen it done
Yeah. All right.
many years ago.
So, I guess I will start with a ancient game review, a classic game review. I will be talking about the Guardian Legend for the NES. So, the Guardian...
I take it we don't get to run out and pick this one up when you're done.
Well,
Maybe on eBay.
yeah. It's kind of obscure because, the game was made by Compile and was produced by IREM and released by Brotobund for the NES.
God, bro.
Broderbund Software.
So
I remember the Art of War.
So basically, the game is there's
It's like
There's
two
two-
words in them. Broderbund Software and Software, etc. It's like
Did they
you
do
know,
Load
together
Runner?
in my mind. I think they might.
yeah. So the game takes place as it's almost two different games. So there's an overhead map view where you play the part of a character who goes through this planet called the Naju, and you go through the labyrinth, and you basically it's like I guess Metroid, where you go through this labyrinth and you just try and find out clues and everything. And once you reach certain rooms, it actually turns into an overhead vertical shooter. And those sections, it's a mix between the two. So you'll
Like 2084 or Robotron 2084.
well, the way it works is that you play as Maria, who's the Guardian, and she's half humanoid, half spaceship. And you'll start out on a top view menu, top view of the planet, the labyrinth, and you'll walk around, and it's just like any overhead type game. You know, you play as the character, you shoot in all 8 directions, go through the labyrinth. You'll reach certain doors. Once you reach the door, then doing certain actions will open up a gate in the door, and then you'll transform into a ship, and then the ship will you'll actually go into an overhead shooter. And then once you defeat the boss of that particular stage, you'll go back to the labyrinth. You'll have that stage clear, and you'll open up new sections of the labyrinth. You repeat until you're done with the game.
Wash, rinse, repeat. Gotcha.
Yeah, but it's actually that concept very original and has not been done like that ever since. And it's a real original concept, and the gameplay is actually a lot of fun. The overhead parts of the game are really cool. The shooter parts, cool, but really hard.
What did this come out on?
Really, it was on the NES.
Wow.
The date on it is 1988. So the game's about 20 years old.
Yeah, a lifetime ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Coming soon to a virtual console near you.
Another 4 years again. Antique plates.
depends. But a highly original game for the time. This game has a high nostalgia value. Very, very high nostalgia value. Just half shooter, half action game. Was made of Win and God. And plus, Compile and IREM. There's a good combination right there.
Yeah.
Game is I would say it's kind of hard to find. Excuse me. I have not seen the game too much lately.
We'll assume hard to find as long as you mean actual plastic cartridge and not wonderful ROM.
Yeah.
I have some interesting information on that.
And
I'm reading the Wikipedia article for Broderbund.
Yeah.
Amongst other games that they published that one might have heard of includes such obscure titles as Choplifter and the original Prince of Persia and Myst and Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. They were sold to the Learning Company in the late 90s, and all of their entertainment properties were sold to an Irish company called Riverdeep. And, well, currently all of Broderbund's games, such as the Myst series, are published by Ubisoft. And the Riverdeep is apparently some sort of ridiculous shell company, so I wouldn't expect them to do a whole lot with them.
Interesting.
So, yeah. Yes. October 2002, Riverdeep became a private entity when their stock price plummeted below $2 in NASDAQ. Yeah, I wouldn't bet on seeing any of those games ever again.
Yeah. So, anyway, Guardian Legend, awesome game for the NES. Pick it up if you like games, period.
And how many dollars should we spend on this? How much is your nostalgia worth?
I could see, realistically, I'd say it's worth $30 if you find it on eBay. And
That's a lot of money for an NES.
For as
game.
rare
It's
as
actually
it's probably going to cost you that much if you find it.
Yeah, it's a little hard to find, but it is that good of a game.
Wow.
The overhead shooter stages, though, after a while, get really, really hard. I mean, very hard.
Not to mention,
is
this game good enough to make you dust off the NES?
I do.
Plug it back into the old RF?
My NES works off the RCA.
He's got a DVI.
Yeah, right. No.
Send mine off to
Plugged in an
Mash
HDMI
Mods and
port
get
on
it
that baby.
modified.
Yeah.
A soldering iron, a little bit of solder, got
Nah.
some third-party parts, and just wire that
Somebody's been going to oldschoolgamer.com.
Yeah, I don't have that much free time.
So
So
now you got a Mac, you can run an EMU and probably pipe it out to DVI.
You got to make sure all that copyrighted content is protected.
Yes.
yeah, or I could run it on the
Yes, you need to use
emo on my emo on my
the
Windows
HDCP is really concerned with your Guardian Legends work in there.
yeah. So next, do we have any other reviews?
Yeah, I'll do mine.
Okay. Well, we have Brian that's doing
Brian's
a
doing
review.
of something.
Yeah, I thought I'd do a little something different this week and do some Xbox Live Arcade downloadable
something.
content
Little
games.
something
Little
from the Xbox.
Is this a triple threat review?
Whoa, yes.
Oh, cool. Okay,
1, 2, 3.
he's doing. He's
Uno, dos, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so are you gonna?
Why did this just suddenly turn into a WWE ripoff?
Well, no, I did one the last time where I did 3 like RPGs in like 5 minutes.
Well, that was like
Castlevanias or.
Well, no, that was like 4 months ago. That was like 5 months ago.
Well, yeah.
It wasn't like last time.
Well,
I wasn't here last time, and I know it wasn't that.
well, I know, but it's a reference.
Yes, and I
point.
remember that was what was that he did 3 of? I don't know what it was. We made him do it in like 30 seconds each.
Yeah, it was.
I got them all done and had like a couple of seconds to spare.
It was Contact, Phantasy Star Universe, and Valkyrie Profile. Lenneth, Noah, Somaria. So
That was pretty impressive. It's a lot better than the 15 minutes he had originally planned.
yeah.
In any case, I picked up a 360 a little after Christmas, getting that $100 rebate through lovely Micro Center, and
Woohoo!
just recently started downloading more Xbox Live Arcade games, so this kind of fits the bill. I gotta say, some of those are pretty cool too. I mean, some of the original downloadable games like Geometry Wars were just very unique, very fun, very old school. Geometry Wars is basically a Robotron 2084 using a ship from asteroids for all intents and purposes, and it puts you inside of a rectangle, and you pretty much have to bounce around shooting everything, and you use both analog sticks, so it's real easy to control and real basic to get an understanding for, and it's just fun to be able to pick up and play. And it's very colorful too. It's so explosive on the screen. There's so much going on at any one time that it keeps you. It's mind-boggling. You get lost in it sometimes, but nice, fun game to pick up and just play. And it's fairly cheap.
I might add too, Geometry Wars is the first Xbox Live Arcade game they released.
How much was it? It was like 400 or 600 points. It was really cheap.
I think it was 400 points, so like $5.
Yeah, so
they weren't using the Luminous model.
No. Although the Luminous model was, we're trying to figure out a way to release a full-price, full-featured game on Xbox Live Arcade around the size limit, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But we'll just do it in 5 or
pieces.
6 parts. Yeah.
We did. It's like the cluster bomb version of video game selling.
So yeah, that was a great game. Even the game that comes with the 360, HEXIC HD, is a fun, simple pick-up puzzle game that just will literally boggle you for hours. You'll lose hours and hours on this game and not even realize it.
Don't let people know that you're playing casual games. You'll lose your gamer cred.
I don't think anybody listens to this, so we should be okay.
I
Define casual game.
Quiet you.
I actually wasn't too impressed with HEXIC. I played it a couple times, and
You're just one of the few, because
You also probably didn't play it enough to start actually getting the game. Because
Well,
it turns
actually,
out it's got nothing to do with making colored combos.
Oh, you got to make the little patterns.
It's
The
got
various
everything to
different
do with making silver stars and
Yeah.
black
the
oysters.
hex patterns.
And the goal is to make those without making any clusters.
Yeah. I don't know. Then again, I'm
gets
not,
really
I'm not a
complex,
huge
but it's-
puzzle game
yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
So.
If you enjoy puzzle games to any degree, this is a very easy game to pick up and very fun to play. And it comes free with the system, so I mean, it's already
Well, it comes
bonus.
free with the hard drive.
Or rather, the
Yeah,
hard
yeah.
drive, yeah. So, no love for you core people. Third game on there that's actually pretty fun too. I've just started to get into is Assault Heroes. Assault Heroes is a riot. I mean, that's just it's just a simple overhead shoot 'em up basically on the ground. You are in a basic little doom buggy and you get to run around shooting, and you can shoot any direction. You can drive your buggy in any direction. Works the same controls Geometry War does with the 2 analog sticks. One moves you, one fires in any direction. And you can upgrade your weapons. You can go from flamethrower to giant cannon to machine gun. Very simple, very easy to play. Also co-op. That co-op's a bonus. That gives you
Single player and over live, and it works great. It's
Yeah,
a lot of
live
fun.
is just great. This is a perfect game for live, and it's fun to play with just about anybody. And anybody can pick this up. I mean, little kids can pick it up, older people can pick it up. I mean, a lot of these downloadable games are nice because they're pretty simple in nature and simple in design, enough that, yeah, I can drop $5 and I don't feel like I got burned on it. And you can also try all these games out for free till you get to try the first few levels of it. And sometimes you buy this game thinking, oh, yeah, it looks like it's fun, and then you get into the multiplayer, and God, it's like 5 times more fun than you could have imagined. So you add in that other element of multiple people playing the same game, it just gets hilarious. And
I'll need to when I get a chance to come by your house again, Brian. I'll need to try out Geometry Wars because I've been kind of curious on that game.
it is. It's very cool. I mean, that's probably one of the few things I was looking forward to with the PS3 was Flow, because that's their Geometry Wars.
Has Flow come out yet?
Yes, Flow is out, and it's gotten incredible reviews from everywhere.
Yeah. No, all I need is a PlayStation 3 that will drop in price in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I've heard that Flow is apparently pretty good.
It also apparently takes like 2 hours to beat the whole thing and everything, but I thought the Flash game was an incredible experience, and I would really like to be able to experience a full-featured version of that game.
That's one of the neat things about Xbox Live, too, is we're getting full-featured versions of these games that came out in PopCap games and other formats and Flash games, and now you're paying, $5 for them versus playing them for free before, but now you're getting a full game. I mean, that's really worth it, and it's so accessible on the Xbox Live. So, I don't know, all these games are fun. I mean, you get to try them, too, so it's fun to get out there and utilize that side of the Xbox 360.
Oh, okay.
And, they really integrate the live stuff well with all of them. I mean, they've got the same
It's almost like
achievements,
they're
the
designed
same
for these.
leaderboards.
Yeah.
And, I mean, even all the old stuff that they're re-releasing, they've updated to include those features. And, I mean, a lot of the classic games, I think, really are made more interesting by having a global high scoreboard. I mean, how many of those classic games did you play to, try and get up there on the top 10? And now you can see where you place for the whole world. That's kind of interesting.
Not only that, too, but the leaderboards are kind of cool, too, because you can look at the leaderboards for just you and your network of friends, and you can see how competitive you are with them and how well you're doing. And if you're trying to one-up on something, or if somebody's gotten better, that kind of pushes you to play the game a little more and get better at it. So it's kind of competitive just within your own group.
And actually brings some of that arcade feel to
Yeah,
games.
Yeah, exactly. Well put.
Without the greasy joysticks.
Yeah, or the
Greasy from somebody
controls,
else.
broken screen.
Yeah.
That was the charm of it. If you were really good, you didn't need all the buttons.
yeah, you just needed the one working button and the I can't move left in Street Fighter.
Yeah. You can only move forward. You move forward in the fight. You don't retreat.
Yeah, take the offensive, you pussy.
All right.
Granted, you can't do half the moves, but
No.
Any other John? Do you have a review for us, or
I do. I have another one of these import PSP games, much like last time. Although calling this one a game might be being a bit charitable. This is called NO HIRA Portable Island Resort. The basic concept for it is that it's an island that you get to explore, and it's like a virtual vacation. Only, as far as I can tell, it seems like the idea is to convince salarymen that vacations are so awful they should never actually leave.
Only in Japan. Made in Japan.
On the plus side, it does have an option where it can turn your PSP into a ukulele simulator. So
wow, ukulele hero.
Otherwise, you can explore the island and pick stuff up and
It's time for a
put it
tiny
down.
moment.
You can run around some sand dunes for a long, long time. Featureless sand dunes.
Is this a 2D game? Is this 3D? Is this just
No,
slides?
it was actually 3D. I'm not convinced it's actually a game. It's certainly a poor choice for an import because I think to get anything out of it, it requires some knowledge of Japanese. There's a lot of text in there to try and figure out what's going on, and I'm unconvinced that there's actually any game at all.
In fact, it looks like it was based in Mexico. miles and miles of beaches.
So what possessed you to purchase this game?
It was really cheap.
Okay, that's not a good reason to
Part
buy a
of the
game.
Play Asia lunar sale.
Yeah.
Lunar.
Well, I don't know if it was part of the Lucky Lunar sale, but it was a Play Asia sale. It was under $10. I couldn't find any information on the game at the time because apparently nobody ever played it because it sucks.
Apparently that's why it was so cheap.
The Wikipedia article on it is a grand total of like 6 sentences long.
Yeah, so hard to find information for it. I thought it might be interesting to give a try, and hey, it said ukulele simulator right there on the back of the box. So I think I would rate this one about -$5. If you got paid that much to pay it, it might
So
be
the company
worthwhile.
should pay you to play the game.
Yeah.
Turn that screen
It has a
my way,
It has
Steve.
a
Seconds.
website, a Japanese website for it.
Portable Island.
And I'm guessing they're not.
It's a Namco game. What the hell?
Maybe Namco licensed it out to somebody.
Yeah, that's.
Look at that excellent. We're looking at the Japanese website for the game, and it shows a picture of somebody not playing the game, not looking at a beach somewhere, but at their desk with their laptop, looking at their PSP, which has the game.
Because you can switch it over to a mode where it displays the time and a beachscape.
Uh-huh.
And it comes with a little cardboard stand that you can fold to put the PSP on.
Wow, I just
excellent.
paid $10 for a portable wallpaper.
So basically, this game is like for,
propaganda for salarymen.
Yeah, it's salaryman. It's like, here's something to remind you of your life as a salaryman.
Well, and remind you of what life you don't have.
Yeah, you're not sipping mimosas at a beach. You're trying to prevent Takagi from getting that deal with the company.
Trying your hardest to get in front of the Sony exec before he talks to the press.
Trying to make sure you can tackle them before they do a public statement.
You need to make sure that Keiji doesn't grope that girl in the Shinkansen before you do. So is there anything else that we need to add before we end this podcast? Because it looks like Brian is about to head out.
I thought for a future suggestion of something related to what he said was the game was excellent and awesome, but it takes 2 hours for it to end. Why are games getting cooler to play, but they only last for 15 minutes?
That's the attention span of a person now.
Like Gears of War, I spent this is an awesome game, and then I was at the end, and I didn't know I was at the end.
Yeah.
And the game just ends all of a sudden. You're like,
feel like
what the hell?
Yeah.
This can't be the end of the game.
Yeah.
I think they did that by design because they're planning for the sequels, multiple sequels.
Well, okay. How about they make the sequels just as long as this one, and make this one longer?
We should.
We need more than an hour and a half of gameplay if I sat down and played real hard.
There's also the other part about it, though. Personally, I'll take an 8-hour game if it's a quality 8 hours over one that's 40 hours of filler.
Well, yeah, okay. So a good game is better than a sucky game, is what you're telling me.
I would rather
good games that are still long.
A long, repetitive game doesn't really excite me anymore.
So basically, John's analogy.
So you're telling me you don't like Japanese RPGs, is what you're telling me.
Actually, yes.
So John's analogy is, I would prefer to have this really tasty steak I can eat for 30 minutes, as opposed to all I can eat rice.
Well, I don't want the games to be 40 hours long. I don't need it to be 120 hours of gameplay or whatever. But how about it lasts me for a month because I'm playing it on a regular basis.
Let's try the multiplayer.
Well, but that's not the main game.
The online multiplayer.
Well, it's not the main game.
He doesn't have that special.
Yeah, but
he doesn't have the microphone so he can curse at people.
Like to be able to play the one power.
Did you go through it on hardcore?
Well, but it's the same game then.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's the same thing he's talking about. Where I'm playing the same content over again. It's just
hey, Steve, have you tried playing the game upside down?
I turned my whole.
Well, drinking a glass of water.
I turned my whole HTTV.
You change all the tints so it's on purple. Pretend you're on an alien planet.
It's the Purple Source Rex version of Gears of War.
All right, so I guess we're ending this thing now. So
ending it.
Yes,
putting it down.
Quite you.
Smacking it up.
Pretty much.
So that's Diehard Gamer Radio. Join us again next time.
Thank you for listening to Diehard Gamer Radio. You can visit our website at diehardgamerradio.com and iTunes, or you can email us at diehardgamerradio@gmail.com.